What's up, everybody? Welcome to Bios3 Raw TV. I got an email from an individual, and this is name withheld. But it's easier to make a video on this than to let other people know about this, because I mean, a lot of people are going through this right now, and I know it. I mean, it's just, that's a fact of life. He's a young guy, he's like a teenager, and he was very close to his grandfather. His grandfather got really ill, and the grandfather was in the hospital, and long story short, I mean, he passed away. And he was very close to his grandfather, and it's a big shock to him, and since he's a teenager, he's a young kid, you know, this is the first kind of real, shut this message off of here, kind of tragedy that he's gone through, that's something major like this. And, you know, it was damaging to him. You know, mentally and emotionally, it was damaging to him. And, you know, I want to tell him right now that it's okay. It's supposed to be like that. That's what's supposed to happen to you. At the age that you're at, a lot of things damage you and mold you and shape you to who you're going to become. And this being the first time that you've had something like this happen, it's uncharted territory. You don't really know how to feel, how to react, how to think, but to try to stay in tune with what's going on in your head and, you know, what you're thinking, and actually get out there and talk about this with other people, like, you know, your parents, friends, stuff like that. And even if you have to go to a therapist or something like that, if you're embarrassed, you want to do that. I mean, that's important. But, you know, not bottling up these things, first of all, is the first thing to do. And his email was asking me, what do I do, or what advice do I have, since all the things that I've been through, you know, as far as coping with things, you know, deaths, I mean, illnesses, injuries, you name it. I mean, there's things that, you know, drug addiction, there's so many things I've been through that I'm trying to think of the first time something really affected me like it affected you. I think I was about 16 or 17. I told the story about Amy, who was my friend, my girlfriend at the time, Maureen's best friend, who had killed herself. And that was the first, I mean, I wasn't there, but I was the first time it was like some kind of big shock, you know, that kind of really hit me and was like, holy shit, life is not all sunshine and rainbows and Skittles. So it, you know, it was more of like a bunch of us coming together and getting through it together, and, you know, it questions why and how do you move on and stuff like that. And you'll go through all the emotions, and you'll go through all the steps, like anger, resentment. I mean, all these things you go through, even if, you know, somebody didn't do something to you. And then, you know, acceptance, recovery, you know, getting past stuff. You go through all these things, and you learn how to work through it. And as they come up in the future, you've already been through something. Now, worse things can come up in the future. Now, for instance, your grandfather passed away, and you said that you were actually, you know, in the room with all your family and stuff, and the choice was made to take him off of the life support, and you guys stayed with him until he passed away. Now, I was in the room with my grandmother when she died of cancer. And, you know, my mom was there, my aunt was there, my cousin Heather was there, and they were talking to her, and they were holding her head, and, you know, she was gasping for air, and it was, you know, I understand that it's not a pretty sight. It's something that, even if someone told you about it, you can't prepare for what you saw. You can't. And at the young age that you're at, the coping skills that you have are not in place. I mean, they're just not. And, you know, I definitely think you should talk to your parents about this. There's no doubt in my mind, because your parents have these feelings, and they know how to cope with them, and they're going through the same things that you are, and they can help guide you through it, or at least, you know, let you know that you're not alone in feeling these things, because everybody reacts a different way to it on the outside, but on the inside, people are very similar in the way that they feel things. They feel pain, they feel emotions, they feel hurt, and, you know, it's nothing you can prepare for. And then, you know, like, I think after my grandmother passing away, you know, my cousin Christopher in a car accident. I mean, that was devastating. And it's like, okay, you know, when your grandmother or grandfather passes away, you understand that they're older. You know, even when you're a kid, you understand that they're older, and they're going to get older, and they're going to pass away, and it's expected for them to pass away, you know, and you're going to be there to see it, you know. So that's expected. But then those things that you don't expect, like Christopher dying, I mean, he was only a few years older than me. I had 60 more years before something was going to happen to him, is what I figured, but lo and behold, it happened. How do you cope with that? I didn't. I did drugs. I medicated myself. I blacked it out. I blanked it out. I made it go away because it was too hard to deal with. So I know exactly where you're sitting right now. And then it wasn't long after Christopher that, my dog Lucky, my bulldog Lucky passed away, and it was a pretty, that was fucking gut-wrenching also. So, you have all these things that'll come up in life later on, and it doesn't matter how conditioned you get to it. I mean, you definitely get comfortable with the fact that you have the ability to cope with these things and get past them, and you understand over time you're going to feel the pain less. But it's like cutting yourself. When you get cut, you have a scar. You're going to have all these scars basically on your heart, not literally, but that you're going to mold and shape you into who you are. And then, it's, some people deal with it very well, some people don't. I was one of the ones that don't. I've had to learn how to deal with it and learn that the pain that you're feeling right now is part of life. That's an important part that you're supposed to feel. You're supposed to have emotions. You're supposed to have anger, joy, resentfulness, fear, everything. You're supposed to have these things, and they're normal for a mentally healthy individual. So, if you try to suppress those, you just wind up screwing yourself up, because you're still going to have to deal with those problems. Like if you do drugs or you drink or you do whatever, problems don't go away. But the coping that's happened stops, and you don't cope with it. And suddenly when you stop doing those substances and blocking it, you now have this problem that's still there, pushed to the forefront, that all you want to do is make it go away again. But you still have to deal with it in the first place. If you did back then or now after drugs, you still have to deal with it. So, my personal opinion and my advice is, don't bottle these feelings up. Don't hold on to them. Bring them out. Talk to people. Talk to people that you trust, whether it's your girlfriend, your parents, therapist, somebody. Get it out and let them, explain to you that, like, look, I had this feeling too. Oh my God. And once you realize that it's normal, what you're feeling is normal, and it hurts and it's supposed to hurt, but it's going to get better, and that's just the way life is. Life is a balance of up and downs, joys and, sadness, and experiences that are, failures and triumphs. I mean, it balances itself out, and, it never gets easier. It's not going to. I wish I had an answer for you to tell you, hey, man, over time you get used to it. It's not a big deal. It's not like slicing meat at the fucking deli. You don't get used to it and just fucking do it without thinking about it. Like, it never gets like that. So be strong. My advice is don't medicate. I don't know if you have or not already. Don't medicate yourself, illegal or legal means. Feel it, work it out, and just know that, it's normal, and, this stuff is going to happen. But it's going to be okay either way. biostraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. www.biostraining.com is a blog, and where this is the Work It Through bicep, and you'll feel a lot better about it. And we're out.